This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. You can see the clear skies, and a very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. I am Sydney Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator. We are going to be looking for the spotted cats this morning, specifically the leopards. And for in case if you need our attention, you can call us. You can write us your questions and comments on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. Oh, there's an alarm from one of the birds here. I can hear the Francolin is just giving an alarm call. The possibilities of seeing Tingana around here are very much high. I have not yet spotted him at the moment, but I am suspecting that he is somewhere here in the area. As yesterday late afternoon, here is where he was last spotted. So we might be lucky with Tingana. Maybe those birds are complaining about his presence. So I'm going to have to drive around here and see if we can find him. So I will first go to the Galago pen. Maybe he is somewhere around there. So that is where the call from this bird is coming from. So now let's go to Brent.
Good morning, and welcome to a bitterly cold Sabi Sands game reserve this morning. But of course, the one thing about the cold is that there's not a cloud in the sky. It is completely clear. My name is Brent Smith. I have Batman on camera, and we're in search of male lions that have been making a racket this morning. Sounded like they're in this area, so I'm going to head down towards Chelepan quickly, and I'm going to switch off and have a little listen to see if they make an appearance. It sounds like there was a bit of an argument, so I wonder what is going on. They're fighting with a pride of females, or are they new pretenders to the Avoca crown? As you can see, I'm wearing a different jacket this morning. My jacket last night got completely drenched, and that's why it's always pays to have 3 or 4 jackets during the summer months, because inevitably your warmest, most favorite one will get wet. At least I've got my tea. Remember, #SafariLive if you want to ask us any questions, or you can pop them on the YouTube feed. Now, the sun is rising to the east, but it hasn't quite popped up over the horizon. But we're going to send you across to the Masai Mara, and Stivovo, who is back from leave, I'm going to take you on an adventure in the Mara.
Well, welcome to the Masai Mara. We are here in the Mara Triangle where, thanks Brent, the sun has not risen yet, but the sky is a beautiful pink and orange and yellow with blue. So many colours there. It is wonderful to be back up in the Mara. I've just gotten back from leave. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve, and I'm joined on camera by Pete Bungai, who is out with me for the first time. And it is marvelous being out in the African wilderness. It is a beautiful 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is a very nice temperature. Just seems to be the same all the time. So welcome, jump on board. I'm sure the other gentlemen have informed you of the #SafariLive. Jump on board the Twitter stream. Let us know how you're doing, as well as send through your questions, #SafariLive on YouTube. And also don't forget the all-important @FC and keep your questions relevant. Our plan this morning, we're going to sort of move along the escarpment, head a little bit further south this morning, and just take in the wonders that are the Masai Mara and the Mara Triangle, and see, I'm sure you've been watching, but I want to see what has happened in the last few weeks while I've been away, whether the migration herds are still around, how fat are the lions, what is going on with regards to the hyena clan. So and it's nice to be back, feeling very fresh. Thanks everybody, nice to be back. Terrible place to be though. I mean, did you see that view before? Horrible, horrible way to start one's morning. Very fresh, but it's my first time in the Mara being out now, because we were going out at 6 o'clock, starting at 6 o'clock, and the show's obviously moved a bit further, so it's a bit dark as we go out now, but still temperature's the same. Really, really nice, not too much to complain about. No gloves, only one layer. Life is good. Doesn't seem to have been as much rain while I've been away. It was raining every afternoon when I was here. But things seem to have dried out. The road seems nice and hard. And well, let's go and see what's going on in the Mara. Send through your questions, as I said, and your comments. Let us know what you'd like to talk about today. What sort of focuses you might want. We're going to hug the James, there is a lot of open land. As far as the eye can see is just wilderness, and in this direction goes down into Tanzania and the Serengeti, which is just, it keeps going. The Mara and the Masai Mara and the Triangle are only a small portion of that. I can't give you the exact numbers, but I don't even think it's a third. It's probably about a fifth or so of comprises what is the Serengeti going further. And then there's also conservancies to the north of where we are. So really nice to have this enormous expanse of wilderness, and best way to experience it is to come in from Nairobi on the plane and just to see how there's absolutely nothing. You come through communities and you find certain animals along the way, people and animals and cows and whatever, but you see that from the air. But other than that, it's basically just open landscape with that touch of human sort of in it, but no real development what's to be seen. But this might work. Are we going to get this guy, Pete? Is there enough light on the right? Okay, well, the light's still not too great to get this elephant. Everyone is commenting on my haircut. Thank you very much. I hope you're commenting nice things. But while we continue on down towards the south here, let's go back up to Sydney, down in Juma, who's busy driving.
Yeah, I have just been to the Garago pen and I saw nothing there. I am now back on the power line to take my investigation from previous. I haven't picked up any tracks yet, but here is where I am suspecting. I'm going to have to look very carefully here because it was raining last night. Maybe this cat is hiding somewhere here in between these small thick bushes. So it's difficult to find the tracks. All the tracks are fainted now because of the rain. Oh, I can see the Daker here. So maybe the Daker is going to help me find him, because if this Daker sees him, then it means I will hear some warning signals. So I will be looking for this Tingana here, and I hope the Daker is going to assist me if he's around here. So I can see that the Daker is very much static and confused. Maybe he's confused because of our presence, or the Daker is also not happy about the presence of something here. Yeah, that Daker doesn't look happy. Can see that he was trying to chew, but it's taking it very slow. So maybe he's thinking about the observers in the area. She might be thinking about the observers in the area. So the male Dakers carry horns, females don't. Yeah, this looks like a very big Daker to me. Unless it's because of the cold, because I can see the hairs are raised there. They are not flat. And this is what these animals do when it's cold. When it's cold, these animals got to eat quite a lot of nutritious food so that they can build up energy in order to get quite a lot of warmth. So this is one of the preferable prey for the leopards. Cat, the duikers, if you can check duikers and the kudus, those animals who are feeding deep in the thicket, they have got very big eyes in order to have a wide vision. So these animals, when they're in the thick bushes, the eyes helps them in order to see. And also, look at the ears. Ears are moving every time. Eyes in the ears helps these animals because they browse. Animals who does browsing, they have to hear very well and they must be able to see. Otherwise, in the bush, animals such as leopards depends on a concealment and they can easily get caught. But the ears and eyes helps them a lot. So we got animals which falls under a group called the sit and wait predators. Those are the ambush predators. Leopards, they fall under that category. But another alternative hunting strategy is called the pursuit predation. Pursuit predation is where the predators target the prey as a group and they chase and catch a fleeing prey. Sometimes they don't win, the prey runs away. So the iconic examples of the pursuit predation will be the lions, also the cheetahs. But if you go to the leopards, these ones, they rely on a concealment position and launch a surprise attack. So these kind of duikers are the suitable target for those kind of a surprise attack. So I'm just going to be driving around here. So let me just go down here and try to check this the drainage, the dry riverbed, to see if I can pick up some evidence such as tracks, see if we can find Tingana here in the area. He has not been sowing this morning, it's very quiet, so, but he must be somewhere in this area here. So now let's go to Brent with the lions.
No, not with lions just yet. We're still looking for them. They were roaring somewhere in this vicinity. There are only two different lions that I could hear, maybe the same boys from yesterday. And of course, I haven't roared again just yet, so I sat down in the Moati listening, but no luck. And we probably had about 10, 12 mils of rain last night at the most. But that is a good start. Of course, however, as we all know, it makes tracking somewhat more challenging. Come on, kitty cats. After this type of rain, it was good soaking rain, we're going to see a definite explosion of green in the next week or so. There was definitely something up with those Avokas yesterday. They were behaving quite strangely. Tristan was with them. I saw them with Tristan. And they were up to something. What is the question? Now we're going to try to figure out where the lions have gone. In the meantime, it sounds like Steve is starting off superbly in the Mara because he's found some hyena.
Well, good luck, Brent. We had a small young hyena for you. Probably living in the lugger here. Quite often you find along this route here, wherever there's a bit of a bank, any form of sort of bank, hyenas are moving in, the culverts on the side of the road. And there was a little youngster, probably about 6-7 months old, who was showing himself to the camera just until obviously you came back to us, and then he's gone down. I'm not going to try call it out, poor thing. He's probably gone back into just a little culvert that's under the road here. I'm thinking that's where they often like to den. But a youngster that's probably too young to be moving away from the den. Nice and fluffy, got the spots, but that's probably about 6-7 month sort of stage. There we go. It's just coming up on the right here. Pete, can you check him? Him or her, I can't tell you. He's quite inquisitive. Look at the nose. Always trying to figure out what's going on. You can see it's got the full body of spots. And it's lost all the blackness of really, really young adolescents. Sort of, but still a little bit too young to be venturing away from the den site. So, but little mini me of the adults. Very, very cute. Look how brave this one is. It's coming all the way out on its own. No one else to be seen anywhere. I thought we might see another 2 or 3 hyena in the area, but it is still early morning. They're probably still out on the forage. Oh, Larimore, indeed, they're very fuzzy up here in the Mara. The temperatures don't... Oh, there we go. There's a second one coming out. Very good. There's 2 youngsters. They look very similar in age. But the hyena up here are much fuzzier. So are the baboons. Then obviously the baboons are different species, but much fuzzier up here than down in Djuma. The temperatures do get colder down in Djuma, but I think it's just sort of an adaptation to a constant temperature. They don't get too hot up here and they don't get too cold, but they probably don't like the cold, or not as used to the cold as much as the animals down south. But they can't afford to have a thick shaggy coat down in Djuma, because, well, they just overheat. This time of year it starts getting very warm down there. Not so bad up here. So these 2 youngsters, they know it's time. Mum should be coming back to the den soon, and these 2 are probably still suckling a little bit. Mum might be bringing back a bone or 2. And bearing in mind that hyena will suckle for a good year, which is very interesting. The only mammal or smallish mammal, to suckle for so long. Karen, it's not hard to start loving hyena with the likes of Jamie Patterson around and all the antics she had with the North Clan up here. And now she's taken on a similar role down south. Obviously spending a lot of time with these animals. It's something that, just for a very long time, hyena have always been very misunderstood. Everyone thinks of them as the dirty scavenger that just outcompetes or fights the lions and chases the leopards. But they have a lot of character, a lot of personality, each of them individual. I'm still trying to get my head around identifying the difference between one individual and another. It is quite tricky. But they are so unique. They're in their own family. They're in their own order. Well, not order, sorry, own family. They do their own thing. They're dogs, but they're cats, but they're not either. So, thirsty work. And you can see there's water in the lugger here. This little drainage line, a depression. Very likely there is a den site somewhere nearby, because many a time I've come along this road and I've found hyena just sprawled on either side of the road where we are. Firebird, most certainly they do. That is one of the issues that they have out here in this open plain system that's scanning out just all around behind. This is where the North Clan, I'm going to assume that this is part of the North Clan, but my knowledge behind that and identifying these 2 is very hard. But that whole area behind there is kind of an area where the North Clan has been denning, and this area is actually known as a swamp. So when the rains really do come, Tristan and them earlier this year, they were basically wading through this area like a big boat. It's very, very hard to drive through, and because the den sites are underground, they do indeed flood. So they'll have to move in response to that, and that is part and parcel of what happens out in these plains. The dry season, they can then move back into these sort of areas, but as it floods, well, they need to move out again. Living in a burrow with water, especially when the water moves into very sort of clay-rich soil, there's no chance of that water draining out anytime soon, so it's best to just move on. And moving on we shall. On down the road we go. Going to be getting onto, as I said, the escarpment road off to the right, and then followed all the way down sort of towards Mara Sun. But in the meantime, it seems like down in South Africa, Sydney has found some spots of his own.
So I've got the Duke of Juma. You can see now Tingana is eating, and is eating very fast there, as if he's thinking about going somewhere. Yeah, this cat looks very healthy. Look at that muscle, and the body looks very fat, and the stomach is big already. It is charging something. It means somewhere deep in the drainage here, there is, there's Hosana. Look there. The head is coming. You see there? Yep. Yeah, there's Hosana as well there. It's two leopards there. I can see the head is coming from the drainage there. Yeah, I could hear that they are charging each other. Now Hosana is growing. He's also opening the mouth and try to also growl a little bit towards the Tingana. Look at that. You can see that Hosana as well has got interest on that kill. So it's payback time. Hosana also wants something from Tingana, as Tingana has been also taking quite a lot of kills from Hosana. So this is amazing, and I can see that carcass is hanging. Yeah, but at this stage, this is Tingana's kill. Yeah, so Hosana is here just to take something. But I can see how that carcass is hanging. The chances of Hosana to get a share, they are very much high. So that's why Tingana is eating very fast. So I was wondering, why is he eating at that fast speed? So competition is too high. So he's observing Hosana at the bottom there. So I can see Hosana at the bottom. There's just that it's quite a very difficult sighting to see Hosana where he is. So when we got here, the birds were giving quite a lot of alarm calls. And then these alarm calls, we thought maybe they are seeing Tingana. It means these birds, they were looking at Hosana when he was coming up here. So he might have just got here now. So it's amazing seeing that Hosana is growing and starting to growl back against Tingana. As you can see that the independence of this cat is training him in order to defend the territory and to defend the carcass. Because now I saw, for the first time, I saw Tingana, Hosana charging back Tingana when Tingana is growling. So that Tingana ate quite a lot from this kill. I think yesterday there was quite a lot of meat. And if I'm looking very well there, I can see that the carcass is now hanging much lower again, and it looks very big. And if you can see, he's trying to drag it back because I can see that Hosana on the ground is coming closer. Gary, it looks like Tingana is eating too much at the moment here to avoid competition. But I can promise you, too much has already been consumed from that kill. Not much is left. I can see, yes, there is some little bit of meat there left. But yesterday, this was it was a complete kill. Today, everything is about to get finished. So we might see some we might see some interesting interaction here. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to try and check if we can maneuver and get a space for you to have a better sighting. It will be lovely to see both at the same time. Yeah, it will be nice and interesting to have both Tingana and Hosana at the same time, because at the moment there is a drainage and Hosana is in the drainage and Tingana is high up in a tree. I am seeing Hosana, but where you are, you cannot see it because Dave cannot see it. I can hear hyenas calling from far at the moment. Maybe they are also making their way to this side. Good morning, all stations. This is Sydney. I've got Tingana and Hosana between the power line and Galagopen. So you can see that feeding is still going on. Tingana's stomach is full, but he doesn't want to leave the carcass. So now let's go to Brent, who is still in search of the lions.
Yes, we're still searching for the lions. We haven't come across any tracks yet. But this is the area where I'm quite confident they were calling from. They were on the move. So we're going to head up towards the northern boundary and see if they haven't been heading north. And if we get no luck in this area, we're going to head east towards Torchwood, see what's happening that side, maybe have a look for Tandi and Shalamba. Amber is wondering, why is it harder to track after rain? Well, what happens, Amber, is that the rain actually compacts the soil, makes it very, very hard. And so leopards in particular are very difficult to see. Even lions are incredibly difficult to see after rain. So the soil is compacted from the rain, so unless they're stepping in a particularly soft muddy patch, the tracks are almost invisible. They're tiny little scuff marks. If I find some, I will show them to you. Now, it's quite cold this morning. 13 degrees it started out when we left, so about 63 Fahrenheit. And hopefully it's going to warm up nicely today. Well, apparently the weather prediction is 25, 77. I think it's definitely going to get a bit warmer than that. If there's no cloud, and I don't think there's going to be any cloud today. It was a good little bit of rain we had. I'll check with Rexon later. See how much they measured in the rain gauge at Juma. Come on, lions. Where are you? Nkohuma's in the west. So, well, they might have come back overnight, but with these evokers making the racket that they were, I doubt. All that roaring definitely be enough to keep them away. Elizabeth is wondering, are there more insects out now due to the rain? Elizabeth, it'll normally take a day or two, but if it gets hot today, the fly population should explode, which is always a little bit irritating, but it is possible that the flies will explode. But it'll take a few more days for a lot of the insects to come out. Now, of course, the reason for that being is they're going to want the plants to sprout or some of the flowers to pop before a lot of those insects make an appearance. Okay, where could these lions be? Yeah, let's check the northern boundary. Okay. And we're going to send you all the way back to the Mara. Just Stivovo, with an animal you are very unlikely to see here on Juma. I wonder if anyone can guess what it is.
An animal indeed, the largest antelope in the world. A beautiful big male eland. They do get bigger than that. He's not in prime size yet. There's a second one nearby. There's probably two bachelors that are hanging out, trying to get bigger and stronger to eventually outcompete the other males. You can see the dewlap on the front of his neck there that's moving. They get a little bit bigger, and they actually start getting this very blue sort of tinge to them. Right now, you can see he's still got a brownish sort of color to him. And the males are easily identified from the females by those horns. Females have also got horns, but they put it a bit more longer and they're more narrow. That's due to the fact that the males fight and compete and they wear them down through fighting. So they probably would be longer, but they're generally quite thick set and a little bit blunt at the top. They still look quite sharp, but not as sort of sharp as the females will be. Beautiful. Nice long tail. Head on the ground, feeding on grass, probably on forbs as well. The eland being a mixed feeder, feeding on leaves, grasses, seeds, fruits as well. There you can see he's picked up a little a forb there. Tanya, you want to know how tall he is? They reckon at the shoulder 1.7 meters at the shoulder. So they are enormous. They are an enormous animal, and until you stand next to one, you won't really understand the size of it. But he's going to walk towards some zebra now, and you'll see the zebras are sort of, everybody kind of understands the size of a zebra. You'll have a look at the size of him compared to the zebra. He's going to absolutely dwarf them. Look at that. The pace he's walking at, and very characteristic sort of tragelaphus pattern. His feet are standing right in the track of his front foot. You see the size of him to the zebra there. He just absolutely dwarfs them. And this animal can jump enormously high. Any game fence you put around, so normally the game fences around national parks are about 3 meters or so. What's that, about 12 feet? And they can easily jump them without any effort. 12 feet? No, that's completely wrong. That's about almost 10 feet. 10 feet, and they can clear that without any problem. He's got his party of oxpeckers busy feeding on him at the moment. It's very important for eland to have oxpeckers, because one thing eland are very susceptible to, it is tick-borne diseases, and they actually don't do very well in areas where there are high abundance of other animals, due to the fact that ticks have the ability to really affect the eland quite negatively. So having those oxpeckers there is very, very good for his body, for his fitness. And I know that might sound quite strange to say eland don't do well in areas of high game abundance. Yes, there's a huge abundance of animals in this area, but it is only for a set period of time through the year. And obviously with the fires that we have as well, they will ravage the area, and they are also good for eliminating ticks. But down south, where we have no migration, we have animals fixed all the year, eland are one of those animals that have gone down, and that's due to tick-borne diseases, due to high abundance of zebra and wildebeest in and around watering holes. But beautiful eland. Let's move on from him and continue on our way. I think I've just got someone who wants to pass me now. I'll give him a moment. Is he coming? No, it's not coming. Well, we're going to see if we can find you something awesome this morning up here in the Mara. But once again, down in Djuma, Sydney has got not one, but 2 leopards.
So you can see that I've got Hosanna now. He was just very lucky because a side of the rib just fell on the floor, and he grabbed it and they started charging each other, one from the ground, one from the top. But both of them are feeding at the moment. You can see there we have got Tingana up in a tree, and Hosanna is feeding just by the same tree at the bottom against the stem. So you can see that Hosanna is not enjoying Tingana crushing bones. Every time Hosanna is crushing bones, Tingana is very worried and is looking at Hosanna. That is unpredictable because Hosanna is not the only male around here. There is other males such as Hukumuri in the area, and there's other males such as Umfokazi. So Hosanna is in the area, but chances for Hosanna to be kicked out by the other males are very much high. So it's not going to be easy for him to inherit this territory. There's quite a lot of other males who are waiting for that opportunity. So I've seen Hosanna chased away by Hukumuri the other day. So if he's afraid of Hukumuri like that, I can guarantee you Hukumuri is going to come back here if anything happens to Tingana. And there's also a very interesting story of one of the males who came back when Tingana was sick. Imagine just the health condition of Tingana, bad health condition of Tingana invited other males to come into the area. So you can see that they are watching here at what is happening in order to get a chance. So you can see that he's not comfortable from these trees he's feeding on. I can see he's trying to now get hold of the head, but it's not easy. Now is the time to take off the hairs from the head. But Hosanna is busy getting some ribs at the bottom. Yeah, that is Hosanna who is busy trying to crush all the rib bones. So yesterday, Hosanna, Tingana managed to take down a very big nyala, and this is what they're eating at the moment. It was a very big matured female. Look at that, he's tired now a little bit. You can hear that here there's competition of crushing bones. So Hosanna at this stage is just over 2 years. So the chances of Hosanna is 2 or 3 years. The chances of Hosanna to start sowing, they are very much high, because when they get to between 3 and 4 years is when the level of testosterone, a hormone which is responsible to boost those kind of sowing activities and to give them bravery, is when the hormone is right. Level of aggression on this cat is going to go very high, and he will be sowing maybe in about a year's time. From now on, chances of Hosanna to sow, they are very high, because he's going to be 3 years anytime soon. And between 3 and 4 years, there is when he's going to start advertising. So you can see that if Tingana and Hosanna are fighting for the food like this, so it's telling you that when Hosanna's level of maturity is there, then there's going to be another challenge with regards to competition in the area. So far, Tingana is a preferable male by a lot of females. Albeit, if the hyenas come here, the chances of Hosanna to disappear, they are very much high. So because Hosanna as well as the hyenas, they really don't get along. And in Tingana, it will be safe up in a tree. But from where I am, there's a little hill which will give the hyenas much chance in order to grab the food. If the hyena comes here, Tingana as well might lose the food. So not only Hosanna. So albeit chances of Hosanna to disappear, they are very much high. So you can see that these cats are well equipped, because where he's stepping by the branch there, it's a very narrow, it's very thin branch, but he can be able to grab there with the claws with 3 legs. The other leg is balancing there, but still he can be able to use his muzzle from the neck to support in order to crush these bones. So now let's go to Brent, who is still driving.
Yes, it is quite chilly still. We're still on the move. We're checking the eastern boundary of Djuma. We're probably going to head into Torchwood shortly. We're going to leave Jamie and the trainees to check in the middle part of Djuma. I didn't see any tracks, but as I say, we could have missed tracks in this cold, wet, still a bit damp weather, but at least the sun's out, so it will make seeing those difficult tracks a little bit more easy. But so far we are not seeing anything. James is wondering if we've had any reports of the wild dogs calling. Not since yesterday morning, and I looked for them yesterday afternoon and no luck. We'll give it a go today as well. They might still be in the east, and hopefully they are vocal, because that makes them a lot easier to find. But for now we're just going to meander south on Cheetah Cut Line, and maybe we might find some sign of Thandi. I think she's in Torchwood still, so we'll go check in that area where Kalamba was last seen. She's probably been picked up by Thandi since we last saw her, so hopefully we do find some sign. And of course I'm always hoping for a quarantine sighting in that area as well if we go further east. And we might see if there's any update from Chitwa as well. I'm keeping our options open this morning. Now with this little bit of rain, we might start seeing a few more zebra moving in from the east, so we'll keep a lookout for them as well. But of course, there are plenty in the Mara. Oh, apparently Steve doesn't have any communication. So you're back with us, mumbling down Cheetah Cut Line. It is incredible that we are able to talk on a radio between here and the Masai Mara. Sometimes, however, there are a few little whoopsies or difficulties. Okay, while I try find some sign of a cat, let's send you back to Sydney and Hosana and Tingana.
So now Tingana is feeding on the head of the keel at the moment. So you can see that not much is left there. I don't think it's going to be worried about the legs and the skin which is hanging, because a lot of meat available now is by the head and by the neck. So you can see that Osana is still busy with the ribs there. Not easy to get to the spinal bone. I can see that he's battling to get to the spinal cord there. So you can see that these animals can smell very well, because every time they do find each other's kill, so without anyone informed them, they can be able to pick all this information about the kills and what is happening and follow each other, and they will come straight to the geographical spot. Him as well, is difficult for him to deal with the head. Ninamu, the predators can get the diseases from the prey animals, like Tingana is feeding there, and if Tingana has got a disease, he can easily transmit the disease to Hosana. We just saw Hosana now getting a piece of rib from Tingana. If these animals are suffering from the diseases, contagious diseases such as rabies, when an animal is feeding on something and it gets dropped immediately on the ground, another one on the ground, when he eats that, they can easily pick up the disease. And that also happens to the trees. An animal suffering from rabies, if that animal eats the branch, and shortly after that, another animal comes and eats the branch, the same branch, that is how they pick up diseases such as rabies here in the bush. Without a bite, without a contact with an open wound, just from the trees, they can pick up the diseases. But it has to be immediately after the animal was feeding. So you can see the stomach of this animal is very big. So the stomach is also adding much weight when this animal is on top of that tree. So he's just forcing to eat from that position. You can see that the positioning is not right. He is tired at the moment. So the problem is he cannot leave the carcass and go to relax by the comfortable spot when the competitor is there. So you can see that he is listening. Maybe you can hear, I can see this a male Nyala coming on the same drainage. there's a male Inyala coming. So he gained quite a lot of weight. You know, this kind of big cats, they can weigh up to 90 kilograms. And the prey is good, they can weigh maybe 50, 60 kilograms. So it means these animals can be able to take something up plus their body weight. So if you take his weight plus the prey weight, tells you that it is a powerful animal. So considering the size of the stomach and the size of that prey, I can say he gained close to 40 kilograms. Normally leopards eat 30 kilograms, but this is too much. The prey is very big. I don't think he can be able to chase anything after after eating this prey. This stomach looks very big. Yeah, stations at Tingana, Hosanna has just arrived here between the power line and Galagopen. This is Sydney in charge of the sighting. So now let's go to the Masai Mara and have a good sighting of the big ones, the elephants of the Masai Mara.
Well, thank you very much. What would a morning in the Mara be like without elephant? And there is a little youngster on the right who's having an absolute ball out here. So special to be able to spend time with elephant and out in these landscapes. And talk about big animals before with the eland. Even the elephants are dwarfed in this landscape. There we go. There's a little youngster full of beans this morning. But so far we've found a few eland, we've found some zebra, we've found some elephant. Not a single wildebeest has yet been found, which is so interesting considering the last time I did exactly this route, there were just thousands of them. We were flooded with wildebeest that day. So it is amazing how the landscape and the shifts and movements of these animals, how it works. Didn't see any from the air yesterday, but we came in from a different angle to what I'm used to coming in. Or I think maybe I landed a bit earlier. Normally we do 3 or 4 landings in different airstrips, which means we spent more time in the Mara, but we came straight in yesterday, so that might have been the difference. Nice family unit out feeding on what we would assume to be grasses, but we know that the elephants do have quite a nice taste for the forbs that are growing through the landscape. But the little youngster there, not really able to use its trunk, trying to work out how it works. This very heavy thing hanging on your nose. It must be quite something to wake up one day and have a trunk and try and figure out that you need to do everything in your life with that appendage. It's busy doing a little bit of foot scraping. Oh, the shaking of the head. That works for Mum. That's probably Mum there, I would say. Beautiful long white tusks. Nice little family unit moving through the open expanse. Sorry, Megs, I didn't get you. I didn't copy you quite right there. We're in a little bit of, it seems, a bit of a signal shadow. You can just ask me a question. I'm sorry, Megs, I didn't quite copy you. Hello, Joshua. You want to know what kind of poisonous plants there are up here? I couldn't actually tell you 100%. I know that there's the poison apple. That's something I've definitely seen. It's all around our camp, and I've found it a few times in and around. And they produce this beautiful little cherry tomato looking like fruit, which actually doesn't ever go red. It always stays yellow, and that is poisonous, the plant itself. There's also some euphorbias in areas around, and the euphorbias are invariably poisonous. But from a poisonous plant point of view, I'm not actually sure what else there might be. But what is really interesting is that the elephants moving through the landscape like this, the youngsters are constantly learning, and they would learn not to eat specific plants. Mum would show them exactly what it is. There would be a smell to it, there would be a sight to it, there would be something that they would know, and then they never eat that. Down in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, there's a cactus down there called the prickly pear. It's not poisonous at all. It's actually quite nice for making tequila. But elephants down in the Eastern Cape, they absolutely thrive on it. They eat it with absolute relish. They really, really enjoy it. But in other parts up in sort of around the Kruger, where prickly pears become a problem, the elephants don't eat it. They leave it alone completely, and that's purely to do with the fact that no one's taught them to eat it. So in a reserve I used to work at called Korongwe, there's a problem with prickly pear there, and the elephants were all moved in over a period of time, and they were never taught to eat prickly pear. But down in the Eastern Cape, prickly pear, that was a problem on agricultural land. Elephants have just moved in and taken it all away. But that's because Mum has taught them, you can eat this. But it looks like it could be something quite untasty. So maybe that's why they leave it alone. But elephants down in the south, they love it. On we go. So I think we're playing the game of who can spot the first wildebeest today. Because it's such a surprise compared to last time. Well, I was expecting them to have moved, but I believe they're much further south than what they have been. And it's testament to the grass around here, which was a good foot higher last time I was here. It is much, much lower. The zebras are still in place. A lot of them won't move. A lot of the zebra will stick around all year. But also a lot of them will move south. Oh, hello Heather. You want to know the distance between where Brent and I am at the moment? Now, it's far, 4 countries. I'm trying to work out the exact number. I did know it in my head, and I have said it before. Well, on a plane, it took me 4.5 hours. So I'm going to say it's about 5,000 kilometers. Somewhere around there. I might be completely off. I've no doubt James is watching and will be correcting me shortly on exactly how far, but it's about that. 4 countries: Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania, and Kenya. So to drive it would take you a very long time. On an aeroplane, 4.5 hours if in a straight shoot, which is quite nice. I came via Rwanda yesterday, which was nice. It's just a little bit delayed because of a connecting flight, but much easier, I suppose, than walking. But yeah, we are much further away. We are close to the equator here, whereas down there 32 degrees, 33 degrees south. If that makes any sense to any of you out there, that's the latitude as you move further away from the equator. Okay. So I'm no doubt that Brent Leo Smith himself will know exactly how far away he is from me to the meter. Let's go and ask him.
Well, Steve, I hate to disappoint. I can't actually remember for some reason. I think it depends on if you're counting whether it's driving or a straight line. But I'm concentrating quite heavily now as we found tracks of a lion, and they went into Little Gowrie, but their general direction was towards Chitwa Dam. So have a quick look very slowly, because those tracks are incredibly difficult to spot. The general line should be coming through here somewhere, through the block, so let us crawl forward. I mean, literally seeing the tiniest little scuff marks on the road at the moment. That is all the sign of the tracks we are getting. And a quick look, maybe decided to stop on the way. Should be coming out somewhere around here, and let's change direction in the block. We're right on the western boundary of Chitwa. So I do apologize, my head is well and truly firmly on the sand because it is very easy to miss tracks after the rain. Apparently, Final Control have Googled. They say it's 3,800 Ks. Now, is that driving or in a straight line? I think that sounds more like driving. Yeah, so in a straight line, I guess it's a lot less. Probably around 2,000 and some change. Would be my guess. A quick look here on these big game paths. Okay, while I concentrate on trying to find you a tawny cat, let's go to Sydney and some spotty cats.
So the breakfast is still on. You can hear now that Tingana is charging. When it's charging like that, it means Hosana on the ground is coming near the kill. It's right under the same tree, and the kill is just above him. So don't get surprised when hearing the engine and some other people talking. I am not alone at the sighting at the moment. You can see that Tingana wants to hold the kill back, and this kill seems to be very heavy. But when he brought it up there, it was much heavier than it is now. A bright night. That is quite a very good question. The reason why Tingana is not challenging Hosana for territoriality is that when the animals are marking, they go and sniff the scent marks left behind by the other ones. By sniffing, this Tingana is getting hold of information such as the strength of Hosana. If Hosana can be able to challenge him in his territory. And every time he's getting the same updates that he's still young, he cannot do anything. But as soon as the level of aggression goes high to Hosana, he's going to pick it up from the urine. From those kind of markings in the urine, from sniffing, he will know that now he is going to challenge me big time. I must have to get rid of him now. So that is what is going to happen. So, but at this stage, to Tingana is nothing. So that is why it's very much important for Tingana to do the flamen every time he goes to Hosana's urine. So that is when he's checking the status if it's changing. So from just sniffing the urine, he can be able to tell as to whether he's going to have serious challenges or not. But Hosana as well, I saw when he's marking, he does sniff sometimes and try to flamen. I even saw Kalamba, the day he had a kill with the Impala, was also doing some flamen. So he does that as well. But he knows as well that this cat, Tingana, is very dangerous. You can see Hosana's head there coming out from the drainage line, that he's just watching Tingana feeding at the moment. He's hoping to get a piece, because now that whole body is hanging as if it's going to fall at any time. but now I can see that it's tightened by the branch. So now let's go to Steve, who's got the buffaloes. So those are the big predators for these sized predators. Those are big prey animals for these predators.
Well, indeed, the African or Cape buffalo, we have them here. There's a little baby in the top left of the screen. Looks like a really, really youngster, which is interesting because, I mean, down in Djuma, as far as I know, the buffalo all breed at the same time in the summer months. But in this herd, we've got three different age groups. There's a couple other youngsters in there that are a little bit bigger. You see that one there? Still got the horns that are coming through. It's already lost that sort of brown color. It's got to the darker chocolate brown. So maybe up here, like the impala, the buffalo don't have a set breeding season like we do down in South Africa, which is quite interesting. But now those two youngsters are looking very similar. And there's another youngster in the background there. He's probably much older, almost a year. But different ages indeed in the herd. So that might be the case, or I might just be completely misreading what I'm seeing here. As I look a little bit closer now, those youngsters that I thought were different ages are looking very much the same. But we do have two peaks of rain here, April being one peak, and around now being, believe it or not, October, November being another peak. Sort of the small rains now, and earlier in the year we get the big rains. So it's generally the cues for a lot of animals to breed is rainfall. Most animals want to breed when times are good, when conditions are good. Animals want to be able to produce enough food or enough energy for themselves and their youngsters, and it's very hard to do. You've all seen what Djuma's like in the dry season. Very hard to imagine a kudu giving birth to a youngster in August. Well, both mother and calf would do very, very badly due to the lack of nutrients and minerals in the landscape. Up here we don't have that same problem. There seems to be an abundance of minerals and nutrients throughout the year, with the very nutrient-rich soils that we have give rise to the predominance of a very nice nutrient-rich oat grass, which is what gives the area the potential to host such a large number of herbivores, largest on the African continent. Here you can see the comparison of the buffalo with the zebra now. Also much bigger than the zebra. Eland and buffalo can get up to a similar sort of size and weight. So biggest buffalo bull recorded is about close to 1,000 kilograms, and eland bulls can get up to that as well, although the average is a bit smaller. Imagine being 1,000 kilograms and still being able to jump a 10-foot fence. Can you imagine? And we've got some stampede forming in the background. Not quite sure what's going on. And there's a younger bull, the one in the front there, with the sort of straighter horns. Maybe he's causing a bit of trouble. And one of the adult females has decided to take upon herself to discipline him. Hello, Lady Starfire. You want to know if there's any any animals that the zebra don't like hanging out with? Well, from a herbivore point of view, not really. You know, they all seem to facilitate each other. Buffalo and zebra actually feed on quite a similar sort of vegetation. They both like it long. The zebra are able to crop it better than the buffalo are. The buffalo rip it more than they crop it. But the zebra really, they move with whatever antelope species there are on the landscape. They are able to access grasses and stuff that a lot of animals aren't able to access, because they've got their teeth. They're able to chop it down even when it's quite dry. So if anything, most animals like to associate with the zebra. not necessarily the zebra with the other animals, but then being in the herd situation, and the zebra likes to hang out with whoever's going to keep a watchful eye out for them, especially if they're with a herd of buffalo, because the buffalo can be quite sort of aggressive towards other animals such as lion and hyena if they do come too close. So that would be a benefit to them. But I don't know offhand if there's any animals that they don't like hanging out with. There's not really any of that sort of competition in the landscape. All these animals have sort of balanced themselves out from a level of competition, and they all seem to benefit from each other's presence. I hope that makes some sense. Anyway, we're going to move on from our buffalo. Just poured myself a nice cup of coffee, because you know you need to have a coffee in the early morning here. Sorry, I'm in a different car, and the reverse is in a very different space. Reverse in this car is in the same place that first is in the other vehicle I was in. But cheers to all of you. My first, should I say my second coffee back in the Mara. Not to be my last. And we're just going to meander along this road and see exactly what we can come about. There's been an auger buzzard that's been moving with us, and every time we frame him up, he moves off. So quite frustrating, but I am sure at some stage we'll manage to get him on camera for you. My last time here was seeing my first auger buzzard ever. So very, very nice to see. They have got a very good resemblance to the jackal buzzard, if you've ever seen one of them. It's not something that we get to see in Djuma, but it's very common down in the south of South Africa in the forest areas where I've just come from. There's been really big issues down in the garden routes in the southern Cape of South Africa with berg winds and dry conditions leading to really crazy, out of control fires. Second year in a row, quite a few people lost their lives this time, and a lot of my friends and their farms had to evacuate. Those areas are invariably forestry. Well, used to be forest, natural forest. A lot of those areas were cleared to plant pine plantations, and alien plants have infested themselves there, and it's become a bit out of control to fire management, and the fires were raging for 2 weeks, and thankfully on Sunday big thunderstorms and rainfall arrived to put out the last remnants of those fires. But the times are changing, definitely. It's normally very wet down there. It's been very dry the last couple of years. Thankfully all my friends are okay this time around. Beautiful, beautiful morning. Okay, well, while we continue searching along the escarpment here, let's go back down to the leopard duo.
So you can see that Hosanna is getting some small piece of meat at the moment. They were just charging each other again 2 minutes ago, but now it seems like Tingana is about to finish. The head is also still hanging up there, but he can't get it out because he strangled the meat with the branches. So I can promise you, from what I saw 2 minutes ago, I can tell that it's not going to be very long until these two fight one day. So Hosanna is now retaliating a lot from Tingana's charges. And then, when there is a predator coming, the chances of Tingana to intervene, they are very much high, because remember, it will be like when he's done with Tingana, with Hosanna, he might come to me. So he might be able to defend the territory if there's any other predator coming here. So it's not all about territory. It's territory and competition. So if any other predator comes here, it will be about competition. That is why the big predators do kill the babies of other predators to minimize the competition in the area. So the big predators, when they come in, obviously he will intervene and take steps, vigorous steps against their presence in his territory. Look at that. So the hyenas, I am very surprised why are they not coming here, because where this kill is not far away from where these hyenas are staying, just about 2 kilometers away or less away from the nearest den. I heard them earlier calling. I thought they were heading to this side, but I'm not seeing them here. It's very rare. Normally, after every kill, you see the hyenas here coming first. So you can see that Hosanna is waiting for the small piece to drop at the moment, and he's collecting all the small pieces to one side. You can now see all together. Oh, Tingana is coming down now. Let's see what is going to happen here. It's not yet going anywhere. So let's see, maybe this will be an opportunity for Hosanna to come eat. So you can see that when he's passing by, he's just crawling. He's crawling all the time. This is beautiful. So he's just standing here and deciding to go somewhere. Oh, now we got him coming in. He's not worried now. He saw Hosanna climbing a tree and he's leaving. So it means now it's like, I'm giving you a chance. I'm done now. You can take over. It's not like Hosanna is stealing. Hosanna is not stealing today. He has been given. I saw that because Tingana saw him climbing up and look at him and did not do anything. So you can see now is the beginning of feeding. So the Duke is gone. Look at him trying to drag that carcass there. And it's tightened against the tree. That is tough. If that... So let's see how he's going to take off that carcass from this tree. It looks like he doesn't know what to do at the moment. It's not a comfortable tree. Let's see how he wants to get hold of the hand, but it's not easy. This is going to be difficult for this cat to eat there. So now let's go back to Steve with some elephants.
Well, how crazy is that? Hosanna and Tingana once again doing their thing. I remember seeing it in November for the first time, a year ago already. Can you believe it? And I thought that was very strange behavior, and yet here you have father and son duo continuingly surprising us. We just watched this herd of elephant coming down sort of the mountain area. They got very excited. They were moving with real pace and excitement with their heads shaking, and generally that kind of behavior indicates that they're moving down towards water to drink, and that's exactly what they've done. A little bit of a spring coming out sort of the base of the escarpment here, where there's a change in the geology. The rock face and the clay face intermix, and the water gets pushed out. You often see it when elephants are walking quite quickly with their heads moving from side to side. We're not talking about an elephant, bull and must, but a breeding herd. They get quite excited moving towards water. You see it down in Djuma in the summer months when the herds are getting close to the watering hole and they know that soon they're going to be able to swim. We see it with humans when we're going to the beach. Just before we get to the beach, we get extremely excited, and as soon as our feet touch that sand, well, I don't know about most of you out there, but my family, we used to absolutely lose our minds, drop our towels and clothes and just sprint as fast as we possibly could into the depths of the sea. Well, that used to happen until my dad moved to Cape Town, and then we try and do the same down in Cape Town, and by the time you hit the water, your heart stops because the water in Cape Town is absolutely freezing. But anyway, let's go back to our elephants. Busy doing what elephants do. Busy drinking. That youngster on the art of sucking the water up. You ask if it's true that elephants only have 2 knees. Yeah, I suppose they do. I've never thought about that. You never see them bending the back leg. The back leg kind of moves on almost a hip sort of joint, whereas the front leg moves on the knee. But that is a very good question. I've never thought about elephants and their knees. Minamu always has these very interesting questions. What I do know is the African elephant has got 2 fingers on the tip of the trunk, which differentiate it from the Indian elephant that has only got the 1 finger. And they're called fingers because, well, that's exactly what they're used for. They can pick up fruit, they could pick up a needle if they wanted to. I remember once, many years ago, seeing an elephant peel an orange at a zoo with a trunk. I mean, how incredible is that, being able to peel an orange? That's some very, very sort of very strong ability with just those little protrusions on the end of the trunk. Obviously enable them to do everything that they do. One male at the back there, female in the front. Where there, youngster? There it comes. So you can see as it's moving, the front leg kind of turns, but it's almost where that joint is almost sort of the wrist, but it's hard to. I mean, I need to, but on the elbow there is kind of the knee. I don't know, Minamu. You really stumped me on the knees. I know that elephants aren't really able to run, so their legs just move like we would if we power walked. So, but when you look at the adult there, you can see where the leg definitely moves sort of quite low down on the hip. So it was very hard. I'm going to have to really do some research on elephants and their knees. You can see the much slower pace of the male and see how where it moves. It's kind of almost a wrist in the front there, and then the elbow on the back of the leg. So it was very hard to really explain that, but definitely have different legs to that of most other animals, and that's come about from the fact that the elephants have gotten so much bigger and so much heavier that they need to have very thick set legs to be able to support that enormous weight that they have on the body. Well, talking about breakfast, the little chief has finally managed to get himself something that hasn't fallen out of the tree.
So you can see now that Hosanna is trying to get hold of the head, but the positioning is difficult. So he has been trying to get the better position, but it's difficult all the time. He's not winning. Look at that. Look at that now. Look at him on the air. this is interesting. This is interesting. So this cat is trying to get the head, and it is difficult at the moment, and he got stuck there up in the air trying to pull it down. So this carcass is tightened against the branches by Tingana, and now he doesn't know how to get hold of this thing. So he was trying. You can see that his weight is not going to work here. He tried, but his weight could look at that now. He's getting it again from the top. This is amazing. Look at that. Look at that. He's getting it from the ground now. He's starting from the mouth now. He's trying by all means. Look at that now. He's not even holding. He's just grabbing it. Look at that. Look. This is something interesting. I never saw this happening before. Yeah. He's trying all his tricks, but it's not working. This is something interesting indeed. So he's trying all the tricks, but it's not working. You can hear the squirrels. Now, I'm sure they've spotted, if not the squirrels, it means something is coming here, because the squirrels are making some alarm calls. If they're not seeing Hosanna, it means we've got a visitor coming towards this side. You can see Hosanna is trying to investigate what's happening. Let's wait and see who is coming. Maybe hyenas or other predators. Just going back again. Maybe he's gonna jump again. He lost again. I was going back to a tree now. So you can see now he's back into a tree. Copy that. So I can see that this cat is now right there trying to get something to eat, but he wants to take the whole body. He doesn't want to eat from the tree because the portion of meat which is left there is not easily accessible. A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of a special broadcast. I am Sydney from Niconico. I am traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator. We are right here next to the Galago Pen by the Juma Game Reserve, western side of the Greater Kruger National Park. And I have got one of the small predators here at this stage. I've got a leopard. This leopard is trying to get hold of the meat which has been left behind by another leopard. And it seems to be very difficult for him to get this small portion from the nyala which was caught yesterday. For your questions and comments, you can send to us. We will be answering you live from where I am at the moment. So this cat has been battling to get something from this carcass for the past 20-30 minutes. So the tree where the carcass is hanged is not comfortable. I can see how he's standing and he can't be able to eat and grab at the same time. So he tried all the other means, but it seems to be difficult. He doesn't have a competitor at the moment, but earlier on it was two leopards trying to challenge each other for the same kill. But he got up here last. Dina, that is true indeed. Look at that. He's trying again to grab everything out. So this carcass is hanged and it is strangled against the branches. He nearly fell there now. I think he's not grabbing nicely. Some of the pieces are hanging, and when he's pulling, chances, look at that, he's trying to pull by all means. You can see some of the pieces are starting to fall now. So you just have to be careful because he's pulling and he's now shaking the whole tree, so he might fall as well too. So you can hear how he's crashing some of the bones there. This is amazing. This cat has been given breakfast to eat, but he's battling to eat, to access it. David, the leopards, they prefer to take something which is between 18 and 25 kilograms, but they can take also 40 to 45 and 50 kilograms. They do take warthogs which can weigh much bigger than that, and some of the animals which can weigh much bigger than that. So this has been a nyala which can weigh up to 60-65 kilograms. So you can see that these are very powerful animals and they are agile climbers. Oh, he nearly fell. This cat is going to fall, I'm telling you. Ellen, that might be his intention. What he's doing now maybe is not all about accessibility. It might be also trying to move the carcass away from the other leopard, the responsible leopard of the kill, who just left here just now. So this tree is wet. It was raining here in the area yesterday, so that's why the balance is not really there. When it's trying to balance every time, it's slippery. So the hyenas might be coming this way. Maybe he's seeing that where this carcass is accessible by the other animals from the ground, because he also accessed the same carcass from the ground. He jumped and grabbed it. If the hyena comes here, chances of the hyenas to grab from the ground and pull it, they are very much high. Maybe it's also something he assessed and saw that at the moment, the ground is not muddy, but it's soft. But if he falls, I don't think he will experience problems. The cats, they are so flexible in such a way that how they fall is difficult for them to land on their back. Rather, they will land on their legs. They can be able to turn up in the air and land on their legs. So you can hear that he is trying to get something, but not much is happening. So the crushing of bones is bringing us to the end of the special broadcast, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. So now let's go back to Brent, who is still searching for his lions.
I just got a report that a lion crossed into Torchwood just over here. We found the tracks. It looks like a single lioness, and Peter from Nkora told me she had a blind eye, so I'm not sure what pride it's from. We're quite far east. It could be Torchwood pride. She was heading... You got it? Oh, we found her. There we go. Well done, Craig. So we saw where she was crossing, and we were trying to guess where she was going to pop out. But since we've gone, we've tracked... This is the third different line we've tracked, and we tracked wild dogs, all of them which left our traverse. But now we have caught up with at least one of the animals we've tracked today has come to fruition. Oh, she's a big girl. Now, as I say, I haven't spent much time with other prides, and I'm not sure which pride this female belongs to. We'll try to get up ahead of her to have a look at her face. She looks very full. I'll give her that. Let's go around her. All the impala are snorting at her. Now, it's probably Torchwood pride. No, not too full. Maybe a bit pregnant. Have a look. See if... Now, the Nkuhumas also have one with a blind eye, but I don't know if this looks like an Nkuhuma to me. Anyway, let me just get in front of her and we'll turn around, and she's going to walk straight towards us. Yeah, this looks like a good spot to turn around. Get us into a good spot so she's also got a bit of space to walk past us. Here we go. Hello, big girl. Maybe you guys can tell me if it is indeed an Nkuhuma or a mystery lion. As I say, I haven't spent much time with the Torchwood pride, and it's her right eye that is very blind. You'll see as she gets a bit closer. Walking with a bit of purpose there. Jono says she's gorgeous. Indeed she is. You can see that blind eye now. I'm going to pass right next to us. Hello, big girl. Oh, very, very blind. And that is completely covered. She goes behind us. I wonder if she's looking for the rest of the pride. If she isn't in Nkuhuma lioness, the rest of the pride was supposed to be very far away from here the last I heard. Caroline's wondering if she could be pregnant or very full. I'd say she looks a bit more pregnant than full. It's difficult to tell, particularly in the early stages. Just going to see if we can find a spot to jump ahead of her again shortly. At least one of our tracking endeavors has paid off. And also, it's always nice to have a cat on the move rather than snoozing. Let's see if I can find a spot to shoot in front of her again. Endertuni would like to know how much will that blind eye affect her hunting ability. It will, but they adapt quite quickly. It's not uncommon to have a lion with a blind eye, or even a leopard. Of course, you've got to think depth perception might be a bit affected, but she doesn't look like she's struggling at all. She looks in very good condition. Okay, just wait for her to get through this little choke point of little monkey oranges, and then we will be able to shoot around in front of her again when it's a bit more open. And it feels like someone just put the heater on. Suddenly got nice and warm. Oh no, we're not going to shoot around in front of her because we're going off the road. I'm just going to get around. Lexa is asking, do lionesses give birth amongst the pride or in private? In private, they'll move away from the pride to give birth. Find a nice little den somewhere. What I will do shortly is I'll try to get hold of Aubrey, see if he knows if one of the Torchwood pride has a blind eye. I do know one of the Nkumas does, but it seems to be a bit far east for Nkumas at the moment. Thank you very much, Michael. It's not a Torchwood or an Nkuma, it is an old Talamati lioness who's been seen mating with the evokers. So a few months ago she could very well be pregnant. See, that doesn't look like a food belly. A food belly would sit further back, but there's no suckle marks yet. Okay, interesting stuff. Where are we off to? Wouldn't it be nice if she went towards first or second rock to have a sit down on top of the rock? My Safari is asking, will a lioness make a den or find one? She'll find one. They don't make dens. Depending on where they are, use thickets, rocky outcrops, even sometimes aardvark burrows. Oh, this is definitely a new lioness for me. I haven't seen her before. I was in this area yesterday looking for the wild dogs, but she's come across from Nkoro. She seems to definitely be on a mission. A mission to where? I'm not 100% sure. Very pretty. Okay. Let's catch up with that. called it in. Stations 1 side Tiangala, Mobile West on Lion Track from Rhino Cut Line. Okay, we're gonna keep up with her, follow her, see where she's going. While we do that, let's send you back to Sydney and the Spotty Cats.
So you can see that the Spotty Cat is still trying to get something for the morning. He doesn't want to leave that carcass. He's trying by all means to get something to eat here. He doesn't have any competition. The only challenge is the arrangement of the kill is not easy. Where the kill is arranged by the previous cat is difficult to access. So now let's quickly go to the secretary bird. Steve is so lucky by the Masai Mara.
Well, we've got a termite bound, that's for sure. There it is. I've made myself a promise that I will show every time I see a secretary bird. I'll put it on camera because we don't get to see them very often down south. Well, I think I've only seen about a handful in my lifetime down in the Kruger Park area. Here, almost every day. Very special. Those very long legs, and able to move through the landscape with ease. Even if it was very inundated water-wise, it'd probably still be able to move through. Very long legs and eyes, vigilant on the ground, looking for something to snack on. And you could imagine in that open landscape just how many little things are hidden away in the grass. Jackie, I also love them. They are a very special bird indeed. And it's very nice to be able to see them up here. Regarded as a snake specialist, they will also take small birds and rodents. Lizards as well. Very deliberate movement through the long grass. Might be following little trails. What exactly the incentive of, or what exactly the movement is very hard to say, but it just seems to be sort of zigzagging and through the landscape. Kamira, you want to know if there's a predator for secretary birds? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, they're a relatively large raptor. They're kind of in that middle range, but any larger raptor, being martial eagle, I suppose, would be a predator to these guys. Walking on the ground, they are open to attack from the air. You don't see them fly too often. They fly when they need to move. They spend most of their time walking. So, yeah, I'm sure that there are predators. So, jackal potentially, a serval. If it managed to walk a bit too close to serval that was hiding in the long grass, I've no doubt the serval would probably have a go. But that's a good question. So, probably predation from young chicks in the nest from monitor lizards, most certainly. Snakes as well on the eggs. Maybe an African harrier hawk might also raid their nest and steal the eggs. But as an adult, I mean, they're pretty resilient to any larger predators. But in saying that, jackal, caracal, serval, and maybe even a leopard, if it came down to it, or large predatory birds such as the martial eagle could be predator for that. But I think it was Joshua earlier who asked about poisonous plants, and I found one that is almost identical to the solanum we find down in South Africa. I'm going to just try and hold that steady for you. It's very windy. You see that beautiful purple flower with the yellow in the middle? But this is very spiny. Can you see along the stem here? Very, very spiny. Be very careful plucking this with your fingers. I had to use my knife to do so. But I think this is exactly the same plant as we find down in South Africa, but yet in South Africa I don't find this plant with all of those spines on the stem. So the poison apple, I'm thinking it's the same species up here, but it might be slightly different. I think it's definitely in the same family, the Solanum family. Funny enough, related to the potatoes and tomatoes. So potatoes and tomatoes, you're not regarding them as being very poisonous, but if you eat green potatoes, well, you will die. But this makes a very nice sort of round cherry tomato-like fruit, which only gets yellow and can be very well used for if you have any problems with regards to hemorrhoids. You take that, you break it up, and you rub it on the hemorrhoid part of your bottom. Apparently that works, but if you ingest them, well, you don't want to do that. Okay, on we go. We are not far away from where James dropped a pin of some of the sausage tree pride yesterday. We didn't have too much of a discussion about who exactly was there, but we're about 6 minutes or so away from that area. We've just passed an area called Kilo 2, one of the lodges, and headed down a little bit more sort of westish, southwestish towards an area of Mara Sun, one of the lodges in the area where we've also got one of our signal towers. So let's see if we will be able to find any of these lions moving through the landscape. But Brent Leo Smith, he's had his luck and he's found one of the Talamati.
She's decided to take a break in a tree, in the shade of a tree we don't actually see too many of here on Juma. It is an acacia. Oh, I refuse to use the new name, so you're welcome to correct me. In my mind it is still an acacia. Nilotica, a scented thorn. It's actually one of my favorites. The pods smell absolutely delicious. Uru would like to know, is she related to the young Talamatis that are with the Nkahumas now? Most certainly, they come from the same pride. How close a relation? They might even be the mom. You never know. And say, I haven't spent enough time with these other prides to know for sure. Oh, she's tired, Kitty, now. I mean, she's walked a fair distance today. Well, just while we've been with her, she's walked quite a distance. Ah, there we go. This, thank you very much, Michael. Apparently this Talamati lioness is one of the originals that broke away from the Nkahumas in 2013. So, she's old. She's probably over 10, but she looks in really good condition, apart from her blind eye. But other than that, I mean, she looks in magnificent condition. Rima is wondering what could have caused blindness in her eye. Old age is one of them, but the fact that it's one eye so obviously more affected than the other, it could have been a spitting cobra, could have been lots of different things, but I think most likely it could have very easily been a spitting cobra. Lions are not the biggest fans of spitting cobras. excuse me. Oh, she's very tired now. Wonder where the rest of the Talamati pride are, because they are normally a lot further to the north from where we are at the moment. Janet is wondering, is she in danger being alone? No, Janet. I mean, there's always danger, but there's danger with the pride or not with the pride. But as a general rule, I would say no, she's not in any extra danger. Of course, if she were to come across the Inkohuma pride, well, the Inkohuma pride's a bit of a funny one. She might be fine. But if she was to come across maybe the Torchwood pride or an unrelated pride by herself, she might be in a bit of trouble, but she would probably skedaddle at high speed. And if she's been mating with the evokers, they're obviously not posing a threat to her presently. I wonder where she came from and what she was doing down in the far east towards Ngoro. We can just ponder. I don't think we'll ever know for sure. I haven't heard of the rest of the Talamatis being... Well, actually, I lie. I'm going to ask Aubrey. Aubrey's got some lines up in the north. Let me ask him quickly. Let's see what Orbs has to say. Aubrey. Orbs, those Ngala you have up in the north, are those Talamatis? Okay, copy, thanks very much. We've got another one here on Torchwood, the one with the blind eye. So yes, apparently it is the Talamati pride up to the north. So the rest of the pride seem to be quite far from here actually, in that direction. Probably about over 10 kilometers from where we are at the moment. So maybe she is slowly moving her way towards the rest of the pride, but been walking for so long it's got hot, so she's decided to take a nap. Okay, well, we didn't start off well with cats, but now we have, and of course Sydney started off right at the beginning of drive with Hosanna and Tingana.
So you can see that now Hosanna is on the ground. We just got down less than a minute ago. He managed to separate the head from the carcass, so now he's concentrating on the head of that kill. So good that he is eating facing us. So he worked hard in order to separate that head, but now from the kill, nothing is, not much is left there. I don't think it is necessary for him to go back and try to have something. So if any other competitor such as the hyena comes here, he is obviously going to lose that head. So there's a bird which is also eating. There's a small piece of meat there. Look at that, the glassy starling. The glassy starling are also getting a benefit. Look at that. So let's see now, the glassy starling is also heading to the carcass. So the starling is trying to get some small bits of meat. So you can see that Tingana did not only benefited Hosana, even birds are getting benefit. And Nancy, Hosana must have to eat the head. So these kind of cats have got very strong tooth to crash the bones of the skull. Because I have seen he can be able to take down the head of the taker. I saw that happening. So now he's trying the nyala, but the skull is too big. So he's battling too much here because this was an adult nyala with a very a strong skull. So an adult nyala is not a little one. So that's why eating the nyala is different from eating a small animal. So he's just trying to take off only the meat there. He's not yet crushing the bones. So I don't think Tingana is going to, Hosana is going to get enough here this morning. Chances of him to go and look for more food, they are very much high. He's just trying to have something for the morning, but this is not enough. Isabella, most of the birds are omnivores. If you can check, birds, they eat insects and they also eat meat, and some of them they eat fruits. So a lot of birds are omnivores. Some they are insectivorous, which only concentrate on the insects. Some are fructivores. So fructivores are those that eat the fruits specifically. So birds, they do eat meat apart from the big raptors. Yes, big raptors, they eat quite a lot of meat. Birds of prey, they eat that. But small birds as well, they do eat meat. You know, the interesting part is I've seen specifically the bluebulls. The bluebulls, before they migrate, before the migration period, you will see a lot of bluebulls. They go and take insects and dry them, and then they eat them before the dry season or during the dry season. Birds can be so very proactive. Look at that. So that one is carrying hairs now, and it means the hairs are going to be used in order to generate warmth by the nest. So others are eating the meat, whereas others are thinking about shelter at the same time.
Johan, Jamie?
I didn't copy that. If you can repeat that question, FC. Yeah, if you can repeat that question again. Jeanette, the big cats, they don't really have much problems with the tooth, but when they are getting old, they start to lose their teeth, and when they lose the teeth from crushing the bones is where now they have problems when it comes to eating. But cats, there is something, a disease which is called a canine distemper. A canine distemper disease affects the canines of these animals, and specifically the carnivores. It targets big cats such as the lions. So the canine distemper is the one that can deplete the animal species rapidly, because it affects the tooth, and when the tooth are affected, then a big problem then starts. So it's a disease called a canine distemper. It has been recorded before happening here by the Southern Africa. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I do have some other vehicles enjoying the sighting, so they're just leaving the sighting at the moment. So now let's go back to the lioness with Brent.
Oh, and flop she goes. It's still actually pretty cold. There's a very cold wind blowing in from the east. And look at her, doesn't she look so comfortable? I was surprised she chose to lie in the shade in the beginning, which is why I thought she'd walk quite far, because obviously her body temperature has come up, because it's still very cool. And with this cold wind, I'm hoping she might get up and move again. And she could just decide that this is the spot to spend the day, though. Karen is wondering, will she still hunt with the pride even if she's pregnant? Yes, she will. She will often hunt by herself if she's already had cubs and she's got them in a den somewhere. But she will join up with the pride even while she's hiding cubs and hunt with them. And they do quite a lot of solitary hunting when they do have young cubs. As I say, I don't think she's given birth yet, but the way the weight is sitting in her tummy, it looks like she probably is pregnant. It's difficult to be 100% sure for now. And she is looking very, very relaxed at the moment. And even while she's relaxed like that, if you watch her ears carefully, she's still scanning ever so slightly with those ears. MGN is asking if I ever tracked or followed a lion on foot. Many, many, many times have we tracked and followed lions on foot. You can't follow lions for too long, though. What you do is you track them, you find them, and then you come back with a vehicle. Daylight is the time of the human being, and we're the dominant diurnal predator, so they can get a bit nervous if you keep following them. They will try run away, but of course if it's hot, their thermostat doesn't work so well, and their body temperature raises quite quickly, and if it gets to that point they might then charge you. But it's very unusual, and only if you generally put too much pressure on them. Sometimes you might surprise each other while you're out on foot, and then they will charge. But as a general rule, lions during the daylight hours will try and move away from you if you keep following them on foot. At night, that changes. Night is the time of the lion, and they are the dominant predator, and they will try eat you. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear this wind. I'm regretting taking off my jacket, my second layer. I'm actually going to put it back on because it's that chilly all of a sudden again. The wind is howling, and she's just heard me putting on the jacket, so opened her eyes to check I wasn't up to anything. That's much better. There we go. It's cold today. So, as you can see, I've got a blankie on. Got two jackets on. My big jacket got wet last night, so unfortunately that is drying. I think she's going to wait for that sun to hit her, and I think she'll enjoy the sunshine now that she's probably cooled down a bit after lying in the shade. Hey, big girl. Nothing looks quite as comfortable as a lounging lion. Dance is wondering, how deeply do lions sleep during the day? Dance, they sleep pretty deeply. Lions and leopards and hyenas actually can sleep very deeply, but they're always semi-aware, as you can see there. Her ears might have picked up something and she opened her eyes a little bit. So it pays to be aware out here. And you can see it's cool because she's not breathing very heavily, even though she's traveled some distance. Tired kitty. I was hoping she was going to go do this at first rock or second rock, but she didn't quite get there. Now, I thought there was a hyena making a noise nearby, but it was Craig's tummy. It went woo. Look at Craig sounding like a hyena. I don't know how much of the bird calls you can pick up. They're very vocal this morning after the rain and the clear weather. You can hear rattling cisticulars, southern black tits, chin spot batis, red crested koran, and we're going to go send you a few thousand kilometers to the north with Giraffe and Steve.
And you're back with us up here in the Mara. We have been searching in the area where the lions were, the sausage tree pride were last seen yesterday. I'm a bit east of the pin that James had dropped, but that's purely because we saw a whole lot of there was a fair bit of vulture activity within the block, and also the giraffe were looking specifically in certain directions. We've now framed up these individuals who seem to be looking in a direction, but they're busy ruminating. They are very chilled. Nothing in that direction. What seems to be an enormous herd of wildebeest in the distance. I got very excited to find my first wildebeest in the Mara this time around, but it turns out to be a very large herd of buffalo, enjoying the nice grazing, the base of the escarpment there, and pretty much between the buffalo and where we are now is where the pin that James dropped for the sausage tree pride, somewhere around here, is where they were last seen. So we are scanning around, having a look at the animals, seeing how they're behaving. The two sites that we had a few vultures on the floor. We couldn't get very close, but vultures were on the floor, and there was some very relaxed zebra near and about, so very good chance there's nothing there. We're going to keep scanning these open areas, bearing in mind that a pin was dropped yesterday morning and lions do move. So I also came off this way because there were fresher vehicle tracks coming down this way, but so far So far, nothing. Firebird, you want to know if there's any cheetah? Well, indeed, in the Mara, there are lots and lots of cheetah. I have already seen two brothers that no one really knew who they were. They were not the border boys. So there's the border boys, which is two, and then there were these two new brothers. Then I saw Musaira, which was a female, a youngish female. I also saw Kenya. There's also Naratoy, who's around, and she had two sons, I believe, and one went missing. There's also coalitions on the other side of the river, the Musketeers. The cheetah abounding, really, because they just love this landscape. Those are just the ones I know offhand, and there's probably more, because we're only a small fraction of the sort of Serengeti Mara ecosystem up here. And I've no doubt down in the Serengeti itself, where it's very, very short open grassland plains, that there are a number of cheetah down there. It's perfect landscape for them. Lots of some medium to small sized prey for them in the name of gazelle, Thompson's gazelle. Some impala as well, which do very, very well for food for cheetah. And they're able to see long distances, so they can see the approaching lions if they are coming in to cause trouble, and the hyena as well. So yes, lots of cheetah up here. Hopefully, I mean, we might just be lucky and stumble across one today. You never know. That's the way it works out here with cheetah. They don't have as set a boundaries as we find with lion and sort of leopard dynamics down in South Africa. And the lion dynamics up here are just all over the place, really. That had a lot to do with the migration. We were finding lions everywhere, and it was very difficult to identify who they were. Hold on there, Pete. Very bumpy, coming through this little lugger. Head back along the other side here, sort of the direction where I saw that last group of vultures, and maybe lying up here in the shade we might find something in the form of a lion. Okay, well, while we continue searching for a predator of some kind, Sydney is still with my favorite leopard, who is still enjoying his breakfast.
So Hosanna is still right here at the moment, and he is now going back in search of all the small pieces he lost while he was up by the tree. And now I can see that he managed to get a little bit of, but I don't think this is enough. He's still very worried about the small piece left hanging by the tree, because he went down the tree and looked at the carcass and ran to the carcass, charging the carcass as if he's charging the live animal. So I can see now he's cleaning the head again. He wants to carry on, try and feed on that head. So the thing is, we can't see now, in order to check if that impala was, if that nyala was very old. There is a part here by the skull, this line in the middle of the skull, which is called a fontanel. When the fontanel is attached and is disappearing, it means the age of that animal is old. But when you can still see the zigzag lines of the fontanel, is when it's still young. Look at that. Now you can see he's back again. So now at least he's feeding from a close range. He's trying to get the meat attached to that bone there. I can hear the squirrels are giving some warning calls at the moment. I don't know who is coming, but someone must be coming towards this direction. It looks like Hosanna is now retiring from challenging the kill. You can see the stomach is beat a little bit, not much is in there. So now it means we have to find our way out and try to follow this big cat, because he's also heading towards the direction where Tingana headed earlier on. So I'm just going to try and follow this cat and see if we can have a good sighting. Now he's going to the very same way. Ages, to be a guide, it takes a number of years. There are short courses and long courses. But these days, I hear that the curriculum has been changed. So to be a guide, you can start by doing the theory. And after the theory, you will be then given an opportunity to do the practicals. And you will be then given a number of activities you must have to shadow in order to learn the experience. It's kind of like a apprenticeship, because you'll be learning from the well-experienced. And after that, you must have to go for an assessment, a practical assessment. When you are done with the practical assessment, if you pass it, then you must have to organize yourself to have a rifle competency. A rifle competency is a certificate which is done by the service provider. In order for you to apply with the law enforcement, you must then apply with the SAPS so that they can check you and see if you are suitable to handle firearms. And if you get approved to use the firearms, you must then go and do the first aid training so that when you are out with the guest, if there is any problems, you can be able to solve that problem. And after that, because you will be driving people in the vehicle, you must then go and do the public driver's permit. And if you've got a criminal record, you're not going to be allowed to handle firearms, and you can't even have the professional driving permit. So you can see it's a combination of quite a lot of things. And you must also do the advanced weapon handling in order to deal with the situation when the animals are charging you. So what I did is all those kind of qualifications, and after that I also did an assessor course. I am a qualified and accredited assessor who can also produce students if I want to open an academy. And apart from that, I also went to the university, and that is where I did conservation as a whole, because I saw that the guiding qualification has got just a basic knowledge. For me to learn more and get the deep information, I then went to the high institution of learning. So I'm going to have to now reverse here and drive and see if we can have a good sighting on one of these. So now let's go back to the lioness sleeping with Brent.
Sleepy kitties. As I say, I think she might move again. That's why I decided that we shall be patient here with this gorgeous girl. See how lightly she's breathing. This cold wind, it's almost ideal. Oh, look, there we go. That's how ideal it is for her. Claire's wondering, are you safe from lions in a tent at night? Yes, you are, Claire. And they can't see through it. They don't know what's inside it. So yes, you are very, very safe. Look at that. It just crossed her front legs. Doesn't she look comfy? A bit more comfy than Craig and myself. A bit higher up and in the wind, but at least we got a bit of morning sun to try battle the wind. Seems to be getting stronger. Of course, this strong wind is what blew away the clouds. There you go. Are we thinking about getting up? Are you thinking about going for a bit more of a walk? She's been completely silent, not even the tiniest of contact calls since we've been with her. Of course, her hearing is infinitely better than ours. So she might have heard something. Dale says if someone got stuck on Juma at night, and I'm assuming Dale is talking about on foot, says would a very tall tree be the best way to stay safe from lions? Yes, into any tree. The other option is if you're in a car, just stay in the car. But yes, if you're on foot, a tall tree would be ideal. Now, all I can hear is arrow-marked babblers in the direction she's looking. Looks like she might be thinking about getting up. She's a very pretty lioness. I think that blind eye also just adds something quite nice visually. Not for her, of course. She's salivating a bit. You've seen something you might want to catch behind us there. I can't see anything there. Now, it's not unusual for the big cats to be salivating, even if they're not eating or on a carcass. Maybe she was thinking about buffalo. So, a lot of you are wondering about what about a leopard if you're stuck in the bush at night. It's unusual for leopards to take human beings, and especially an adult human being. It is more usual for lions. So leopards, you are pretty safe from, even if you are in a tree, and you can normally chase them. See, she just made it. He's salivating quite a bit. Hungry kitty. What has made you so hungry, kitty? And the good old paws are clean. Doesn't look like she's eaten anything last night or this morning. She's a bit hungry, but not starving. Beautiful. It's almost like she's got a bit of an itchy nose as well. Definitely giving her paws a good thorough scrub. Okay, can you zoom in on her paw there for me? I just want to see that middle, one of the middle toes. There's a funny mark. Oh, I think it's just a leaf that's caught on it. Next paw. We can hear a boo-boo shark in the background. Now hopefully this little bit of grooming means she might get up and get on the move again. Okay, well, let's see what she gets up to next while we do that. Let's send you back to the little chief.
So I am right here trying to reposition as now Hosanna is just lying down here. It's time to rest now. At least he got something. A half of bread is better than nothing. So you can see now it's time to rest. And this is a normal behavior. Cats, after eating, whether too much or less, they must have to sleep. Because mostly these cats, they are much more active between dusk and dawn. During the daytime, you can see them in the areas where they don't get disturbed or when the weather conditions are fine. Them and the sun don't really get along. It's time for them now to sleep. So, but how they sleep is way different from how we sleep, because they sleep while still concentrating on the surrounding. So they don't really go on a deep sleep, because the ears, every time they move, and when they hear something, you just launch a surprise, wake up, and you will see them as if it's not the one who was sleeping. If anything comes here when he's sleeping like this, it's going to stalk. So they sleep is going to leave this now and carry on towards something coming. Look at that now. You see, it's easy for them to suspend the sleep. So I wanted to check what he is thinking about. So this cat has been on a kill a few days ago around the Buffalo's Hook area. I think before yesterday he was on a kill there. So now he's here. And he has not been around this Galago Pen area for some time. So it means the prey animals here, they are very relaxed now. He's back. Is when he's going to start again hunting around the Dam Camp area. Stephen, these kind of animals, the only area they cannot access to clean, it is in the ears. It's unlike the prey animals, the herbivores. You will see them allowing the birds to clean them. And these birds help these animals because they can be able to access the inaccessible areas. But predators, birds, they don't come and clean them. So in their ears, you will see there's quite a lot of parasites in there. So that's why you will see sometimes a lot of flies coming to the ears, because the parasites, they also sometimes brings the blood out. You'll see those bloods then attract the flies to come. And to try and get rid of those parasites, they also scratch against the trees, which can also damage, because this kind of parasites, they've got kind of a tubular mouth which can be able to absorb blood from the body. And this tubular mouth, where it's attached, is where sometimes you will see some blood coming out. So you can see that now this cat is well exposed just by the open area. So an open area like this is not ideal. He will be moving here very shortly to find a nice shade. Yes, they don't have predators to come and take them down, but just to be in the thick bushes, concealment helps them, for in case if any other prey is roaming around, then they can just take it from there. But when they're by the open area like this, sometimes they don't get easily camouflaged with the surrounding. So these spots are part of what is called crypsis. Crypsis is just a way all these animals are using in order to avoid detection by the predators or the prey. So crypsis works in both prey and the predator animals. It can be a strategy to avoid a predator or a strategy to get hold of the prey. So now let's go to Brent, who's got the lioness.
Yeah, so that little bit of grooming was a precursor to getting up and on the move. So we're going to follow her. She just needed a little cool down after a long walk. She is heading towards the northwest, and the rest of the Talamati Pride is a bit further to the north, but her general direction should take her to much closer to where the rest of the Pride are. Oof, she is in fine condition. Let's swing around here for Craig. Hello, big girl. Lisa is wondering if the other lioness of the Pride find the den of the cubs. Are they in danger? Not too much. It's more to protect them from males, and if there are other cubs in the Pride that are older, what could be them just playing, wanting to play with a little cub, but if they're quite a bit older, it can actually hurt the cubs. They're a bit too rough. So only once the cubs are sort of big enough to take the boisterous playing of their cousins is when the female will introduce them to the Pride. Now everywhere is different. I've noticed in the Mara, and that's probably because of the high density of hyenas and nomadic males, and also lack of really good den sites, that the cubs are introduced to the Pride generally quite a bit younger than they would be here. And she's now mobile towards Second Rock, so maybe she is going to give us the show we've been hoping for and go lounge on top of a beautiful big rock. Okay, we're going to wind our way through here. It's getting a bit thicker. Now, even though the sun's out, as I said, it's still quite cold this morning. While I keep up with this beautiful lioness and zigzag through the bush, we're going to send you all the way back to the Mara to Steve and some stripes.
Well, good luck keeping up with the lioness, Brent. We haven't had any luck finding any lions of our own, but what we have found, if you look closely behind this adult female zebra, you can just see the legs and the belly of a very young baby foal. Well, I suppose a foal and a baby mean the same thing, don't they? The one on the left got a bit of a scratch on the ankle. But, you've got to look really hard to see the baby next to mum. It really does disappear against her body. That is the intention of the... There we go. You saw its head just pop out. It's having a little bit of a drink. It's breakfast time for the young zebra as well. The zebra is still abounding on the plains. There's the little one. Oh, hello. Aren't you just too cute? You see how long the legs are. You know, we talk about this a lot, but out in an open landscape like this, to be able to avoid lions and cheetah and whatever else that might be hunting young zebras, they need to disappear within the herd, and the stripes help them to blend in, and the length of the legs with the sort of body help them to also disappear against mum's sort of silhouette or against her side. And you see that? Very hard for a lion to individually pick that one out if it was looking for the easiest, and that is how the young zebras get by. Wildebeest, obviously they have calves all at the same time, and the objective is to just swarm with numbers, and they disappear within the herd. But if any youngsters are born later, they're just too small and they just stand out against the rest and they get picked off. Where zebra don't have that desire or that need. They'll breed whenever they can, throughout the year really. Obviously peaks during in the summer months or rainy seasons. And look at the landscape. Beautiful. Lady Starfire, you want to know about a zebra and the difference between the Djuma and the Mara zebra? We've got some more in the road. The difference, definitely, I'll show you in the book. You want to know if there's actually a difference in their size. And in my opinion, they look slightly smaller up here. But I could be completely wrong in that regard. Let me find a zebra. 74. So they are the same species, but they are geographically different. So the ones up here don't have that shadow stripe that we find down in South Africa, that very characteristic. I don't know if this is going to work. Is this going to work? Yes, it will. The ones at the top, these are the Southern African zebra. They got that brown stripe in amongst them. See the black and the brown and the white as well. Whereas at the bottom here, this is the very characteristic Kenyan or Mara zebra without the shadow stripe. Now I'll have a quick little, sorry about that, I'll have a quick little look if there's any difference in their size. I don't think there is. It doesn't say anything offhand here. Pretty much the same size, but to me they look slightly smaller. That might just be to do with the fact that the landscape is so vast. I mean, even the elephants look small here, but they're not small. They're big. It's just the vastness of the landscape and the fact that not really ever too close to the trees. We're down in Djuma, we kind of get this sort of, I suppose, this mental difference in their visibility due to just the surrounding environment. Whereas out here, it's vast. It's wide, it's open. I have no doubt that that plays a bit of a trick on the mind. Project Alpha, the Grant zebra. Is that what I heard? Sorry, Megs. There's no Grant zebra here. Okay. Project Alpha is often, or should I say always, quite accurate on his discussions, and I didn't quite copy what you said about which one was smaller, Megs, but I can't find in the book any difference in their size, although I'm pretty sure these guys do look slightly. Okay, Grant zebra is the one of the plain zebras. The Grant's is the smallest, as Project Alpha says. The Grant zebra is the smallest amongst the plain zebras, and they are just a subspecies. All equus, all fall under the genus Equus, and Quagga burchellii. So the mixture between, have you ever heard of the Quagga? That's an extinct zebra type species that occurred down in the Cape, down in South Africa, and they were shot out 200 years ago, maybe less, 150 years ago. They don't exist anymore, but very nice open landscape, and on we go. This area on the right hand side, very short grass, was part of the really big burnt area. And this is an area where Kenya, the cheetah I mentioned earlier briefly, the female cheetah, likes to hang out. I actually followed her through this block for quite some time, just before going on leave, as she was attempted a very weak warthog hunt. So this is the area we could find them in. You never know. Cheetah could be anywhere. Lions could be anywhere. Nice to be back in the Mara on quite a nice morning. It's a little bit windy, but nonetheless beautiful. We had a glimpse of one wildebeest, a male, And wildebeest behavior, often what happens is that the herds will move through and he'll demarcate an area and set his territory down, and then he'll hold that territory for 2 weeks, even though the rest of the herd have moved. And after 2 weeks, he'll realize he hasn't seen a wildebeest in some time, and will pack up his bags and move off to follow the herd again. So they're constantly doing that as the migration sort of moves in that big circular 1,000 mile sort of circle. And obviously the biggest dominant bulls will demarcate those territories, and as everyone moves they realize, uh-oh, time to move. And the difference being down in Djuma, the wildebeest behave very similarly, except there's no migration. So those males will demarcate a territory and they'll stay in that area all year round, whereas here they'll stay for 2 weeks and then move and then move and then move. So the disturbance they create on the landscape is constant throughout, but it's less. It's not in the same area. So wildebeest are known to become sedentary, a word sedentary which means to stay in one place, if the migration is thwarted, which it is not up here. And they tend to roll around and dust bath and scratch and really eat very low to the ground. And well, the wildebeest can lead to, that sort of behavior can lead to overgrazing and destruction of the landscape. So important that they do move, and so awesome that we haven't seen one. Well, we've seen one, but we haven't seen a herd this morning. Just amazing how only 3 weeks ago tens of thousands of wildebeest were crossing in front of me just over here. Well, we're going to continue on. Who knows what we might find, but it's go back down to Djuma in South Africa with Sydney, who's moved off from his leopards.
I am trying to reallocate the Duke of Djuma, Tingana, who has just went up much more this direction earlier on, but now it seems like he just got disappeared somewhere and his bellies are full, so maybe he's somewhere here. But because of the full bellies, I was supposed to spot him for a long distance, from a long distance, but I can see here that he is hiding somewhere here. Oh, look at that animal there. So these animals are playing with fire at the moment because Hosanna is here. There is a duiker just lying down there at the moment, and when I'm looking at that duiker and the hares, you can see that it's cold. The sun is shining, but it is very cold at the moment here where I am. So the distance between this duiker and Hosanna is just about 150 meters, 200 meters. So this duiker has to be very careful, might got hunted by Hosanna anytime soon. And Tingana got disappeared in the same area. The fact that Tingana ate a lot this morning does not mean if anything come closer, he's just going to leave it like that. We have seen it happening a lot, that these cats, they catch something, and if any other prey comes there, they take it down. It's normal. We even saw Hosanna at one stage having 3 different kills in 3 days, and having 2 kills in 1 day. So that is possible for these cats. Christina, I have not yet seen the impala lamb in this area. I am hoping to see them as from the middle of November, because that is when they are starting to give birth. And impalas, they are interesting because they do give birth mostly during the daytime. They know at night the hyenas are there, and then these other predators as well are more active. So during the day, they know the sun discourages the predators' movement. The activities of predators are much more restricted during the daytime. It's very quiet here by this quarantine area. Not even the single tracks of the impalas here. Because mostly there's quite a lot of impalas by the big openings. So the amarula trees are turning green and some of them are starting to bear the fruits. We are going to have a lot of amarula beers. So now let's go to one of those animals who prefers the short grass, the blue wildebeest, with Steve in the Masai Mara.
Well, we found some. Here is some wildebeest with a herd of zebra, of course. Zebra enjoying some shade and some tail swatting the flies from the face as this individual wildebeest moves off towards the left, towards where a few more are bedding down, enjoying a little bit of rest. You can see another wildebeest, feet very low to the ground. And we just missed it. One of the zebras was busy dust bathing, busy rubbing and rolling on the ground. It was really quite nice to see. And the zebra don't chop the grass too low, though. They chop it, and it actually facilitates what we mean, the grass coming back in the way that the wildebeest enjoy it. But unfortunately, the wildebeest are known to eat it right down to the ground. So they really do get their mouth right down and low there. And in high numbers, they can cause quite a bit of sort of destruction. And you can see some wildebeest in the background busy lying down, ruminating, no doubt. Bellies full from green grass. But one of the reasons I stopped, we were talking about how cheetah like this area, and just off to the right here, Pete, you can see there's a few Thompson's gazelle busy lying down in the open. These are the preferred prey item for cheetah out here in the Mara. There's a few females there. Very hard to see from a distance. They do really blend in with the ground. But they like it in these burnt areas, these really short landscape areas, as do the wildebeest and as obviously do the cheetah, that like to follow and chase their favorite food source. They reckon Thompson's gazelle make up about 60% of the cheetah diet within the Mara Serengeti area. And these individuals are all facing the opposite direction of the wind. The wind is coming from behind them, and it's a very common thing to see with antelope, sort of facing away from the wind and looking in towards the area they can't smell. Lauren, want to know about the migration and why it was late? It's all got to do with the rainfall. The migration, the wildebeest don't have a calendar. They don't have a watch, an alarm that suddenly goes, oops, it's exactly this date, let's start moving. They follow the rains. It's all about the rain. And once the rain falls and produces the beautiful grass that is required, the animals then move in. And because there was a lot of rain and then they stayed a bit later, or should I say the long rains came late, so they're a little bit later than their sort of peak in April, and it was still raining up until July, and the grass was beautiful, and they all moved up into these areas, and there was so much vegetation and food availability that they stayed even longer. And while they were here, it rained even more, which caused these areas that we're looking at now to flush, and all of that grass on the ground there is all very green, very juicy, very tasty. That's what the animals are looking for. And then some cue must have just happened within the wildebeest's brains, and they're like, oh, it's time to start moving south again, which is what they're slowly doing. But it's all got to do with conditions, environmental conditions, and we are seeing global changes with regards to climate change. It's affecting migrations, it's affecting all sorts of things. We're seeing birds not migrating, we're seeing birds moving later, we're seeing birds arriving later, we're seeing them leave later. So these are things that are happening on a global scale, and we need to pay attention to that. I mean, I think last year's migration was on the right time, and this one is a few months later. Who knows what's going to happen next year? But in these savanna areas, we get wet and dry periods and cycles that move through the sort of 7-year to 10-year period. And I think we're going through a wet one at the moment. But let's see how it affects the migration. But we will be documenting it, I'm sure. We would love to see what happens down south. And no doubt there will be changes, because what happens as well is that sorry about the bump. It's going to get a bit bumpy as I come out of the drainage. because the males generally go through that sort of rutting period with the female wildebeest at a set time after the second rain, sort of about October time is when they're generally mating at peak condition. Because the vegetation is doing very well, they might have mated a little bit earlier, they might have mated a bit later. It's really hard to say, but there's this like 3-week window that all the males mate with all the females, and they pretty much all get impregnated so that they all drop at the same time. Something similar to what impala do. And there might be some in and out of that window, but those individuals, as I was discussing earlier, have been known not to survive because they're just one in a stack full of others that are bigger, or they don't blend in with the others. So I am sure we're going to see changes in the migration over the next few years, and it's wonderful that we are here in the Mara to be able to document it, to actually see it going from here on out. But I didn't quite copy what Megan said. I'm having a bit of wind distortion in my ear, but I have no doubt we're going down to someone down in Djuma.
So you can see that here where I am is by the open areas of the quarantine, and I have got a little bit of a situation here. You can see I have got this termite mound, and there's some trees that are growing on it there. I don't know if the tree is killing the termites or the termites is killing the tree. This is a beneficial relationship. The trees are there and the termites are there, and these termites don't even disturb the trees. You can see they build stairs, especially there on this side where we are seeing now. You can see that the lower branch, in between the branches, there's also again more sand building just like that. So we don't have to destroy this kind of termite mounds because they are helping us. You can see that there is a big lesson that we have to stay together and depend on each other. So now I will be heading back from here and see if I can find something on the road. Maybe we might be lucky. It's just that the termites, you cannot see them. They are hiding in there, and they are just doing their work for our benefits every day. So now let's go back to Brent with the lioness.
Well, she didn't move too far before she flopped down again in the shade of some worries. Looking very comfortable. I think she's probably going to be around here for most of the day. And then I think as it gets towards the late evening, she might start heading towards the north, towards the rest of her pride again. But for now, she looks very comfy. It's always great to see a new cat. Cheeky Mongoose would like to know how many lions kill and eat humans every year in South Africa. Well, it's very difficult to give you an exact number because most of the people that are killed and eaten by lions are never found, and there are illegal immigrants that cross the border from Mozambique. So it is difficult to give an exact number, but I wouldn't say too many. And Mozambique has come on a long way since the bad old days during the Civil War, and during that period lions used to eat a lot more people as they were trying to escape the Civil War in Mozambique and cross into South Africa through the Kruger National Park. But not so much these days. Well, while she's lazing about, we're going to we'll head off in a couple of minutes back towards breakfast and a nice hot cup of tea, because it has been chilly this morning. And she looks like she is going nowhere. Jeanette says their paws are massive. Indeed they are. All the better to catch you with, Jeanette. Of course, they're especially adapted for grabbing onto prey species. So big paws with those retractable claws. And if you watch when they walk, their front legs always come out. And that's an instinctive for grabbing. But she's not doing any grabbing at the moment, just snoozing. Snoozy, snoozy kitty. Well, it's been wonderful. We've had lots of different species from Steve in the Masai Mara. We have lions and leopards here in South Africa. And it sounds like Sydney had a great sighting of the silly Hosanna falling out of a tree. I'm a little bit jealous. I would have loved to have seen that. But of course, I'm excited to have seen a new lion for me. I've never seen this lioness before. So that's always exciting. And who knows, maybe we can see a few more of the Talamati pride on the Sunset Safari if they come down towards the southeast and meet up with this blind-eyed female. But for now, we'll see you in a few short hours. Enjoy your day, night, or whatever, wherever you are. Bye!